Gear up for the hunt and learn from the best with Deer and Deer Hunting Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Tune in every week for expert hunting tips and unforgettable moments in the field. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.
For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business.
Just be sitting up there jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like, I love getting close and putting up.
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like,
We call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bulls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
we'll get into all your stuff here in a little bit. I got to ask you, Pete, how's the elbow?
That's pretty good. I got fixed up.
Oh, a little tape, eh? Does that stuff actually help?
Yeah, once it gets worked on, my osteo kind of worked it all up, loosened me up, and then put tape. It's basically supposed to just hold your muscles where they're supposed to be, more or less, for the healing process, and then it'll come off here soon. And then if it starts acting up, she showed me how to tape it up again. And then it was funny because my knee went like the next day, like to the point I couldn't walk. So when I went in just whatever, and I came out and came back to work, and I had shorts on that day because it was hot, and my elbows taped up, my knees taped up. Everybody at work's just laughing at me. Freaking old man.
No doubt.
But other than that, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. So you got to help me a little bit with the pronunciation of your name. Sachin? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sachin.
Sachin? Okay,
Sachin.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sachin. Yeah. Awesome, man.
No worries, buddy.
So, hey, man, thanks for hopping on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for asking me to come on.
Yeah,
Very unexpected.
Yeah, for sure. And like we're typically, we talk hunting stuff, but I mean, number one, I mean, you got something that's pretty amazing going on, and we'll get into all that stuff here. But Pete and I, we're not getting any younger. I mean, Pete, he looks a lot. You'd be surprised. Pete's actually older than me. I know he looks like he's about 5 years older than me, but he's actually a little bit younger than me. So
hard living, man. Hard living.
So, but anyway, we've covered a lot of stuff in the hunting space, and we've kind of. I was telling Pete, I'm like, man, I'm just, it feels like we're talking about the same old stuff, and we need to get some new guests on here. And then, I just been following you on Instagram for a while. I think I was following you back. I started following you when you were doing that. You're running a marathon a day.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
Yeah, that was last summer.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a lot, man.
Yeah, it was 22 marathons in 22 days.
Oh.
But the hard part of that, man, was I was running across the province, so it was like Revelstoke to Victoria.
Yeah.
So it's a different. Well, it definitely feels different this time than last time. The logistics and all that, as you can imagine, just traveling, trying to run across the province. For me, that one felt harder, to be honest.
Really? Yeah. Well, I guess because a lot of like that. Well, I know, like, just even like driving through Revelstoke, can't talk. Driving through Revelstoke, you get the Polson Pass there. It's like, is that the way you came in through?
Yeah. And we went through, what's that? Once you get to Pemberton and all that area too, the Duffy. Holy man.
That's not easy.
No, man, there was a lot of up and down. But I think I was thinking about this today too, to be honest. What are the challenges? different? Like, what are the different challenges from this year
Yeah.
versus last year? And I think this year the real challenge for me is obviously it's hard and it's tiring and all those things, but the other additional factor that I didn't consider was all the creature comforts because I'm in the Lower Mainland for the first part of it. So I'm like sitting on my sofa. I got my food over here. I got the TV over there. So everything's pulling at me not to go. So
Yeah.
that one's the bigger challenge.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean that's one of those things though I think you develop over time, and that's one of the nice things you get as you get older. You build that, that mental toughness so you can push yourself to go for that run or go lift weights, in the morning, like get up at 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning to lift weights because that's the only time you have available to do it because you got other obligations, whether it's work, kids, or any other commitments you have in life. And I just feel, I know for myself anyway, it's just, as I've gotten older, it's definitely a lot easier than it was when I was younger. And I mean, I say that, but then, as I say it, I'm thinking, when you're in your 20s, I mean, most of us, except for, I guess, Pete, he was the opposite. He started early. I started later. But like when I was in my 20s, I didn't have any kids, right? So it was easy for me to sleep in a little bit and then just go to the gym whenever I wanted, fit it
Yeah.
into my day. Now it's like, well, I get home from work and it's nonstop till bedtime, right? Till it's story time and bedtime. So, yeah, you gotta pick your spots for sure. But I definitely feel it gets
I agree.
easier as you get older.
I think it does because I think we value things differently when we get older, right? And we
Yeah,
see things different, our perspectives different, and the reasons why we do things are different, right?
yeah,
Like, I mean, 100%, if I was physically fit enough in my 20s, I wouldn't have done this. There would be no reason to.
yeah,
Like, there was like really I got to do this because life kicked me in the ass. And then I just stumbled upon it, right? So for me, it's been yeah, I mean, of course, you don't get to this point for me anyways, unless I'm a bit older, and I'll be 47 in January, so I'm 46 now, so
right.
I'm no spring chicken either.
Yeah, so we're all about. I turned 46 this year, and Pete's he
Still
likes to say,
45. Still 45. Just turned 45, so 45 for a whole nother
yeah,
year.
I don't think that counts. So, like I was saying earlier, if you look older, then that should just, it doesn't matter if if I'm 9 months older, and you look like you're 8 years older than me. So
That's the thing.
anyway,
That's the thing too, man. I tell everybody all the time now because they're like, "What? How old are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, I mean, it's because I eat relatively well and I'm always
yeah,
moving."
yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's a big part of it too. And I mean, I don't, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I mean, that's, kind of a newer thing, but I drank quite a bit, I, like any kid, partied hard when I was younger and like never really thought too much about diet because when you're in your 20s, you don't really have to, right? Like, I mean, to get in shape when you're in your 20s, you could just go for a run and there you go, you're in shape, right? So it's a whole nother animal when you're in your 40s trying to do anything. And that's kind of where, that's kind of when I got back into it really, when I got really serious about fitness and stuff again was when I was in my 40s and I started, for me, I have a physical job. I've always had a physical job and I just hated being stiff and sore, and I see these young guys coming up and they're starting to challenge me or beat me in other things. And I didn't like that either. And so I made it an effort to get into, just, it started slow, right? It started with, just like doing like the bike or an easy run one day and then lifting weights the next day. And then, it transitions from there, right? And then 5, 6 years later, you get to the point where you're able to run 3, 4 times a week and you're able to still train, weight train on, you can do split day or training splits on each same days and stuff like that. So it's definitely a transition. What about you? Like, let's hear a little bit about your backstory. When did your fitness journey start?
Oh man. Um, okay, so I mean, I wrestled in high school.
Oh, okay.
So I started probably like, okay, so my parents weren't very active, right? They weren't very fit, immigrants and, working, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for me, it was, and I have an older brother and he was never the fitness type of guy either. So I don't know, man. Like when I was younger, I always kind of gravitated towards movies and magazines that kind of showed that. Rocky was a big thing for me, and
Oh yeah.
I remember when I
Arnold.
was, yeah, man, and I remember when I was a kid, I still remember the magazine. It was like a comic magazine, but it had Lou Ferrigno on the front, dressed up as the
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk. And man, I was hooked. I didn't know exactly how to do anything like that, but just the feeling of having a connection to that, whatever
Yeah.
that was. And so I wrestled in high school. I wasn't particularly that amazing or anything. I was average, right? And then after high school, I went to high school in the States. My dad was working for a company out there, so was living with him. And after I graduated high school, kind of bummed around a bit. Didn't really, I would lifted weights a little bit here and there,
Mhm.
but nothing serious to where I'm at now. Really, I was bumming around, screwing around, partying, this, that, and the other. Moved back to Canada. Eventually started getting back into the fitness thing probably when I was 26, 27. I worked in law enforcement for 18 years, and I had just gotten my job with the CBSA, and I was overweight, probably about 230 pounds, and I'm 5'8", 5'9", and I wasn't a good 230. It was an unhealthy 230. Drinking,
Right.
partying, and eating, but I was
Yeah.
lifting. I was strong though, right? Like I used to
Mhm.
lift, so I thought I was fine until I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is a bit. I should never weigh 232 pounds. Like I should never weigh that much.
Yeah.
So eventually, I started. I was living in Maple Ridge at the time in BC, and there was a supplement shop close by, and I just kind of started going there, started picking the guy's brains, started learning a bit more, and started training. And then, really, at 27 is when I really kind of started lifting.
Mhm.
And then, within short order, probably within a year or so, 9 months, I started competing in bodybuilding. And so I competed for 5 years in bodybuilding from there. And then after
Right.
that, I stopped in 2013, like actually bodybuilding and competing there
Yeah.
because what was
It's
it?
a lot. Yeah.
It was, and I was bored, man.
That's
It was just boring, man. I was
Yeah.
like, I had done it for a long time, and I wasn't really learning anything. I was just kind of doing it just to do it.
Right.
And
It fascinates me though with that bodybuilding is just like how like we have a good friend of ours and he did 2 years back to back bodybuilding and like the discipline it takes and like you're taking your body and you're dehydrating and then you're starving it to the point of almost death. And then you're going out and like doing these big exertions and like the whole process to me is like, man, it's just crazy. Like it's funny, like I don't think a lot of people really appreciate what actually goes on in your body when you're doing, when you're right before you're up for
mhm.
competition.
Yeah,
Like
no, for
it's
sure.
amazing.
No, I mean, for me, it was like, I think I learned a lot while I was competing and training and doing that. But I think the most valuable thing I got out of it was the mindset or the discipline to be able to diet for so long. Man, it
Yeah.
was it was ridiculous. And so I guess for me, fortunately, I'm not I don't hang out with tons of people. I'm kind of an introvert, so I would sit at home, watch the Food Network, and just diet the whole time. It's so crazy. I mean, watching the Food Network,
That's
starving, making lists of things to eat
wow.
after.
man,
And
that's torture.
yeah, I mean, I guess something's wrong with me or something, but yeah. So, but I think that's one of the things that I've kind of carry with me now, right? Like that was freaking hard, man.
Yeah.
And the mindset to starve yourself for a period of time
Yeah.
is no joke. So it was a benefit for sure. It's in my back
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the nice thing about going through those hard challenges in life is like and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about being a little older, you have more experiences with life. Like when you're younger, one thing about young men is like, well, we've all been through. Nothing really challenges us, most of us anyway, at the time. And then, so a lot of things that you think are big, they're not really that big. And as you get older, life tries to kick you down and you keep getting up. And then, all of a sudden you realize like, hey, if something's getting hard, that's right before it gets good because you just got to keep persevering. And then that's when good things happen.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
Bill.
it's a good point. I'm not sure if I really recognized that until recently, though, eh? Like, I mean, sometimes you get knocked down, but you just, to be honest, I had a bit of a victim mentality for a while. Like you keep getting knocked down. It's like, oh, I can't catch a break. And I was kind of a whiner, to be honest. I'll tell you why. Like, so I was working my job. I competed. I stopped competing in 2013 just because, I just got bored of it. And so I still kept going to the gym and trained as if I, was going to compete, but I never did. And then my daughter, who's 7 now, was born in 2017, and before she was gonna before her birthday, which I didn't we didn't anticipate, but a few months before she was born, um I was like, you know what, I want to do jiu-jitsu, and I hadn't I always wanted to, but I never actually done it. And so I was like, I needed something to focus on, I guess, something fitness related, something new, something different. So I started training jiu-jitsu, and that was a whole new sort of ball game of learning stuff. It was
Yeah.
a big learning
I've
curve
always
there.
wanted to try. I've always wanted to get into that. It just never seems to, like, especially with like my kids now, I got 3 kids, 12, 10, and 8. It's like, man, trying to get anything new in now is like, man, forget it. Cause like we've
there's
talked
no
about
time.
it before. Yeah. And it's like, if something, there's only so much, right? So to give more to one thing has to, you got to sacrifice something else, right? And obviously you definitely don't want that one thing to be anything involved with your children or your family. So it's you kind of got to pick your battles in a sense.
I don't know about you either, but for myself, it's like, if I have, X amount of time to dedicate for my craft, my hobby, whatever it might be, I don't want to divvy that up to a whole bunch of different things. Even though I enjoy doing a whole bunch of different things, I want to be the best I can be at whatever it is I enjoy doing the most. I don't know if you're kind of in the same way, but
I kind of am, man. Like, let's see. I'm not the most balanced person, so let's get that out of the way first, because like I obsess, right? And I got my own mental health issues that I kind of navigate with, but I do. So when it came to jiu-jitsu, I perhaps gave a bit more time to that than other things that I probably should have, right? And it was between jiu-jitsu, and I was married at the time, so married. My daughter was just going to get born, and lots of things going on. I'm working law enforcement, all this kind of stuff. So, I didn't make the best choices, focused areas in certain areas. But having said that, I still, did that and learned a whole bunch. And really to get to the crux of the story in terms of like what I start running, man, I right before the pandemic, or in and around that time, I was going through a divorce, pandemic, all these sort of things started happening where I just kind of, basically crashed, man. Like I had a major depressive episode, and mental health was kind of, not on the great place. So I started kind of trying to find something, because I couldn't really train, I couldn't do jiu-jitsu, work was a hot mess, like just everything at home. It was a struggle at home because I was going through that divorce, right? And so I was like, man, I got to do something. And I read Extreme Ownership, Jocko's book. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, this is good. And I hadn't read much, man. I wasn't a huge reader, so I didn't really have a broad understanding of many different things. I had a really singular understanding of a couple things. And so I read that book, and then I picked up Can't Hurt Me, Goggins' book, and I read the first 2 chapters out of that. And then I was like, okay, clearly I got to do something. So I just started running, and I hadn't ran since high school, probably. Like, because most of my cardio was like walking on incline, on the treadmill,
Yeah.
So I started running, man. And I'll tell you what, man, I wasn't good. Like, it was hard, and it was freaking hard. But at the time, I was in such a mental state, I needed something to kind of sink my teeth into.
Right.
And so I just obsessed over running. And at the time, we were kind of isolated anyways because of the pandemic, and my work schedule was like a 2-week on, 2-week off kind of schedule, because they were trying to manage the pandemic and whatnot. So now, like 2 weeks off, I'm just like in, isolated by myself the whole time. So I was just trying to think of things to do, and running was just one of them. So I started with like 5K 3 times a week, and try to manage that. And then, anybody who's kind of athletic likes to see development and progress. So I'd always set new goals, and goal after goal after goal. And then look at where we are now after about 3 years, running 60K a day for 52 days.
Which is insane. If you started running in 2020, like we were just talking, like last year, you were doing a marathon a day, and that's not that long. So
Yeah.
like,
yeah, I went crazy. I went crazy, man. I
How
went.
was it?
Sorry.
How
Go
was
ahead.
it? How did your body adapt to that? Like, did you have any major issues? Because normally when you first get into running, I know Pete's not going to be able to relate to this.
No, at all.
One day maybe.
No, if
But-
I'm running, you better outrun me because there's something big ass chasing me, and I mean that for real.
Yeah, 900-pound grizzly. That's the only time you're going to see Pete run.
Yeah.
And he'll most likely just kick your feet out from underneath you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, give it. That's smart, man. Give some bait.
Mama didn't raise no fool here.
That's awesome.
But yeah, when you first get into running, it's like everything, your body, like for me anyway, and I know other runners who have the same thing. Your body, your hip flexors get tight, and you're going through all these these issues. How was that for you?
It was terrible. Like it was,
Yeah.
it was rough, man. That first year, I didn't engage with anybody. I was just kind of watching YouTube and just kind of trying to learn how to run on my own. And like the first few months, I was like, I had no clue, man. I had really no clue. I was wearing like shoes that were super old and all the things. But I think that it was a combination of things, man. I was dealing with my own problems, work, and I needed to stay fit, and I just kept grinding through it, man. Like every day was it was a challenge, man. It was hard. My glutes, my hammies, my whatever. Everything was in pain pretty much almost every single day.
Yeah.
Did you ever sustain when you're going through that transition of trying to learn how to, learn how to run properly, so to speak, and then body's getting used to it? Did you ever endure any injuries that kind of set you aside for like a good time period, or just kind of your basic, stuff that you're going to run into no matter what you do?
Yeah, no major injuries. Just
good.
a lot of discomfort. I mean, I did tear my Achilles a few years ago before I started running. So that was a bit of not a concern, because I wasn't worried about running again after that. I was more just the consideration of managing some of the discomfort that I had, because, the chain going up from the leg all the way up, right, to the hammy, glute, and everything's all connected. So one side's going to be deficient over the other. So it was just managing that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one crazy thing, is like how connected everything is. And that's one thing in the last, like I was in my 40s now, I definitely notice little things a lot more, where it's like, you wouldn't be stiff for so long, or like you wouldn't be stiff this many consecutive days. And now it's like, well, I guess this is just how it's going to be. I'm just going to wake up and it's just going to be stiff. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to train anyway, and it is what it is, right? It's just going to ride till the wheels fall off, basically. So
that's pretty much what it is, man. And I think a lot of people will feel that and experience it. It's just some people quit, and I just didn't quit. I just kind of kept doing it. And then after a while, it got to a point like, okay, my body's adjusting. I'm able to regulate my breathing, all this kind of stuff starting to happen. And then I started, okay, so in 2021, it's probably about 9 months after I've kind of been running for a bit. And I had heard Cam Hanes on Joe Rogan's podcast. And that's kind of what precipitated me even pushing even more. So I heard him talking about, training to run the Moab 240, and he would run a marathon a day in preparation, work full time and all that. And man, when I heard him say that, I was like, I didn't know that people did that. I had no clue. And I didn't know that it was a thing to do that. I didn't even know it was humanly possible. So right off the bat, I was like, holy shit, man, I want to do that. How do I do? Like, that's the feeling I had. I didn't think that, but it was the excitement. I was like, holy, what? Because I was so bored with like a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, I wanted something kind of new, I guess. And I heard that, and I was like, holy shit, like, how do I do that? So then I went on a path of like, okay, let me see if I can run a half marathon a day. Right. So at that time, I was able to probably run 10K a day. And so what I did was I put myself on a 10-week plan. Every week I'd increase by a kilometer. So I'd go 11 kilometers every day,
Oh
12,
yeah,
30,
yeah,
all the way up.
do it the smart way. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I did so many things that were stupid before that. But yeah, so I ended up getting up to 21K for that week. And I was still going to work. I was a dog handler, so I was, with my dog, had my kid, and all the things. So it was like, after doing that, that really fueled me a lot, man. And actually I never thought in a million years I could even do something like that. So when I saw myself achieve something that I never thought in a million years I could do, man, I felt freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like it leveled me up, because at the time I was really in a dark spot, man. I wasn't like mentally doing well, and my confidence was in the dumps and all these types of things. And after doing that, I was like, holy yeah, like that's cool. And then when I did that, I immediately thought of Terry Fox, because Terry, obviously ran the marathon every single day, the Marathon of Hope. And I thought, man, I think I can do that. Like, I think I could do that. I could run a half in the morning and then run a half in the afternoon. And I think I could do that. So that were what's precipitated a lot
Right.
of, my sort of direction.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Terry's like, you think of the stuff like still, you think of the stuff that Terry did, and it's like, man, it's pretty amazing.
Well, he had to have been running on that prosthetic for like 12 or 13 hours, because he was doing a
Oh,
marathon. And I know like
yeah.
how like that would have taken him forever.
Oh, I know.
That's
And
something
just
else.
like, yeah, I mean, and not only that, like he dealt with it too. And like, you can imagine how he was feeling internally, because like the cancer was spreading throughout him, and just, he got up, and he still kept persevering and going. And
Yeah.
like, he was just like this beacon of hope for everybody. And like, you think of him, and like, when you like, if you understand running, and you enjoy the sport and you love the sport, then I think you resonate with him a lot more, and like just what he accomplished, and like what I mean, any of that stuff, like running a marathon a day is a lot, right? And then running, it's just it takes a huge toll on your body. After the last summer, what was it like when you stopped? How was your body? Did it hold up okay? Any pain?
Uh, not any, so I all of last year for about 8 months I had plantar fasciitis, right? So it was
Oh,
really
brutal.
it was a challenge running. So the pretty much the whole 22 marathons I had the plantar. And then when I would, before I ran on the 22, I'd be walking around the house, and I'd have to wear my slides because I couldn't walk barefoot. It was just like the right
Yeah.
foot plantar was just kind of a pain, and it was
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So after my I had central nervous fatigue, so I was like pretty, bagged too. So I didn't really do much for 3 weeks. And then my foot healed up, so I was able to walk around barefoot again. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was about a 3 week period of where I was kind of maybe, took a week off everything, and then the second week went to the gym a little bit. Third week, gym again, but a bit harder. And then on the fourth week, I started incorporating running again.
Right. So like, as like last summer, as that was going on, what was like mentally, how was that? How challenging was that mentally? Like, cause like you're doing it, and like some of those areas, like lower southern British Columbia, it gets hot. Like,
Bro,
I'm in
it,
Kelowna. It gets hot down around here, man. Like to
bro,
run.
and it was also during fire season, man. It was like
Yeah.
August 5th to 27th or whatever it was. And we were like just ahead of the fire or just missed the fires. So it was smoke everywhere for the
Yeah.
first 10 days. So that I was anticipating smoke, but I didn't know how to train for it, like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it is what it is. I gotta
Yeah.
see what it's like when I get there,
Grab a
and
pack of cigarettes and start running. I guess I don't know.
but yeah, I
Two
mean,
at a time.
yeah, maybe, I guess. But it was crazy, man. Like, so that was hard. Like, I think mentally overall that was super hard, because I was also still like, man, it's been a challenge over the last 3 years doing what I'm doing. Like, it
Yeah.
hasn't been an easy ride, because I've left my job, right? So to focus all my energy in this, and so I'm managing a bunch of things at the same time. So I got to figure out how to make money. I got to figure out how to pay for child support and do all these things. I got to pay rent and all the stuff that are
Yeah,
associated with
absolutely, man.
that.
Because life still goes on, and that's the thing is like while you're doing these big feats, life still goes on. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You still have
Yeah.
you still have to pay your rent, even though you're not there. You
yeah,
still got to pay your rent. Still, you
yeah,
still need an income. You need all these things, right? And that's part of what makes these things so remarkable is when guys like yourself accomplish them is like you're still managing everything else while you're doing this. And like the one thing that you're doing, you're focused on is like the run, which is like extremely hard. But then when you add all these other little facets of it, it becomes even harder, right? And
yeah,
then mentally, day after day after day, it's going to compound, right?
yeah.
Now,
I would argue for me, man, it's like if I had nothing to think about, the running's whatever. Like I'll get it done. I'll get it done. It's the other things that have been really hard for me, being able to, because I want to do this for the rest of my life, right? I want to be able to run, train, raise funds for mental health initiatives and things like that for my life. So I had to really figure out or think about how am I going to do that? How am I going to actually live the life that I want to live? Um, and look, man, I've been a government employee for almost 20 years, right? So it's a significant shift in my mindset to go from that and I guess to trying to think like an entrepreneur, right? Essentially. But at the time I didn't know what that was. So I was just kind of like just trying to figure things out. So for me, that was the more stressful part. So while I'm running across the province, man, I was getting 5 hours sleep maybe every day. Like I wasn't sleeping much. And I had my girlfriend with me, and she and I just kind of started dating. Like it was, you know what I mean? So it wasn't the ideal scenario, right? Like so
it's a good test, that's for sure.
so there were and look and if any I'm sure you guys are and some of your listeners, anytime you're doing something that's like multi days and where there's going to be fatigue and all the things, like you become a different type of person, right? Like, and
Yeah.
especially when you're doing an event like this, I was so just thinking about that. I didn't give a shit about anything else. It was, I got to get this done. And so that's not the best environment to be in a relationship. So it was a challenge, right?
Yeah.
The 22 days. But man, I'm so grateful for all of them because I learned a ton, man. I'm a different human being after those 22 days. Like before that and after, it changed me. Like it had to happen.
So I got to ask, like, after having that experience then and where you are now on this, I mean, you got a long ways to go here. Have you figured out, or when you're running, do you let those other thoughts of everything else that's going on, like kind of get to you, or do you have to mentally block them out? Like, what's your day like when you're out there running? Like I imagine that's got to be tough.
It is, man. It is. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard every single day. I feel like I'm getting pulled in all kinds of different directions. And maybe I'm not, but I just feel that, because I'm here and I feel like I need to, do this, that, and the other. I have to be at this thing, or I have to, and not that I don't want to. It's just it's their distractions, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm running, any little distraction for me, it can really mess up the vibe. And after so many days, your emotional and your mental state becomes tired as well, not just your body. So it becomes a little bit harder to handle things to a certain degree, right? And mentally and emotionally sometimes. So it's a matter of just trying to find that right balance, trying to figure it out. So I had to frame it differently for this run, to be honest. A few days ago, maybe 5 days ago, I had to really think about how to conceptualize this challenge, and I had to shift it into a training block. So I didn't put as much pressure on myself and really feel like I had to do all the things that are associated with running across Canada, because the goal is to run across Canada next year, and I started conflating that to this year, the importance of it, the things that I need to get done, the people to connect with, all that kind of stuff, like the networking pieces associated to it. So after I was thinking about it for about 4 or 5 days, I was like, okay, you know what? This is the training block. I'm training. whatever, and I'm going to take the pressure off, enjoy it, take it as a training block. So since that, I've been feeling a bit better.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, and this is why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is like, a lot of these things that we're talking about and like our listeners can relate is because, when you're in the backcountry and you're going on these long hunts, I mean, you're kind of, if you're on a 10-day sheep hunt, by day 8, 9, and, and you're weathered and you're sitting on a mountain, you're sleeping in a tent and it's cold and it's like all these things are pulling at you, and it's easy to find an excuse to just pack up and leave, right? It's like, oh, my kids need me at home, or my wife can't do it without me, or no, I need it at work, or this and that. But if you give into those, then nothing great happens, right? Like nothing happens, right? You just go home and that's it, right? It's when you persevere and you just push through it, and that's all this remarkable, great stuff happens.
Yeah,
then,
that's a awesome point, man. Because like I was talking to a buddy of mine, he's got his own podcast as well, Sean Taylor, and he's a retired Tier 1 operator, JTF2, and oh man, I lost my train of thought. What was the thing that you just mentioned just a second ago?
we were just talking about like the sheep hunts and like just persevering, and when like.
Yes. So he was sorry. Thank you. That happens all the time. He was mentioning to me that, look, there's a cost to everything, right? So there's a cost to excellence. There's a cost to, anything that requires a lot of effort, right? It might not be money.
No,
but there's going to be a cost. There's going to be a cost to your soul, to your time, to whatever it is. And if you're okay with that cost, well, then, you kind of have to be when you're I'm trying to do something I never thought I could do. Right. And it's irrespective of anyone else, it's all about what I can do and what I can achieve and what I can handle. And for me, I just want to be able to, man, I want to be like a Cameron Haynes, man. I heard that story and I was like, that's freaking awesome. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, man. You get inspired by people and you want to be like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to inspire other people as well, right? And that's what it's all about. And it's
sure. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to make one quick point to that. I'm not doing this to inspire anyone. I'm doing this to inspire myself and see what I can do. But if that inspires others, cool. So I just want to make that distinction because I know some people do things just thinking and leading with, I want to inspire people. From my perspective, I think that's kind of tacky, man. Like who are you to inspire people, right? Like, you got to inspire yourself to want to do things. Anyway, so I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to mention that piece.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The funny thing is I was I had a book on a plane when I was out in Manitoba, going to and from Manitoba on a bear hunt. And it was Dave Proctor's book. And for the listeners who don't know, he ran across Canada, and then I think he ran, was it 72? He was running 72.
So he was running 67 days, 10 hours.
67 days, 10 hours. Right. So across Canada, pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. So I'm reading this book, and then I started following Ryan Keeping on Instagram and stuff, and I've been chatting back and forth with him, and he's currently running across Canada raising money. Awesome. Like, looks like he's having a blast, and he's getting pretty close. I think he's in Alberta now, so he's getting pretty close to the end. And then, I've been following you for a while, and then I see you got this you're setting out to break Dave Proctor's record, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, that's the goal, man. I mean, so I set out to break the goal. I've been on a 5-year plan, right? And I'm year 4, so next year will be the 5th year. And when I started out the plan, I said I want to see if I can break the record. Like, I'm going to attempt it. And Dave Proctor hadn't broken the record yet. It was Al Howie's record that I had targeted for the 72 days. And freaking Dave Proctor broke it, and he didn't just break it, he smashed it, he crushed it, man. And so that was unexpected. So now, having said that, man, I'm so happy that he did, man, because like now I know that people can do that. His pace was like 6 minutes to 6.5 minutes a kilometer. Wow. And that's going up vertical. That's going up vertical as well, man. It was like, it's savage.
That's going across a whole country.
Like,
going from ocean to ocean, like to keep that pace up. You know, Pete doesn't really appreciate it. He's looking at us like doesn't know what the fuck we're talking
Man,
about.
okay,
But
so
like the people who
Yeah.
understand,
Man, okay,
it's amazing.
I'll try to put it in more perspective. Okay, so it's the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest 7 times, right? That's the equivalent of the vertical gain.
Yeah.
And the cross the country, 7,300 kilometers. So man, like, and some days you're climbing at 1,500 meters, man. Like if you're doing not like doing 2,000 meters in a day, and then plus you're running a 105K at the same pace consistently, man, that's savage, man. That's
Yeah,
that's
going to be
crazy.
something else. So like you're preparing for this right now, and that's kind of what you're doing. You're like you said, this is a training session for there. There's a lot of coordination goes into this. So how are you putting together a team? Because like when I was reading his book, there are certain parts of the highway that you weren't even allowed to run on. He got stopped a few times and had to turn around and find an alternate route a few times because you're just not allowed to run. I think it was the 400 or something in Ontario where they just don't let you run. But I mean, like hotels, meals.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're doing something like this, all you can really be focused on is
It's running.
Running,
Yeah.
right? And you got to make sure that your family's on board. You got to have support with everybody that loves you, because if that's not dialed, if that's not locked down, then forget it, right? Like you're going to get halfway or you're going to get into it and then just be like, man.
Yeah,
No,
those are the
100%
last
right.
things you need to worry about are your food and accommodation and stuff like that. You definitely want that all arranged ahead of time. You got enough on your plate as it is.
100%, man. Like I don't want to think about anything like when I'm doing that. Like I just want to get up, eat, maybe talk on the camera a little bit if we're doing social media or whatever, and but just really focus on that because I'm gonna have to give it everything that I have to be able to do it. And I've never given everything that I have physically. I don't think I have.
Right.
So, that's exciting for me, and I'm going to train my ass off to see if I can do it. And look, I'm training as if I can do it. If I don't do it, I'm not going to be heartbroken, right? I'll tell you why, man. I couldn't run 5K 3 years ago, and I was borderline suicidal and dealing with all kinds of garbage, man. And, within a 5-year period, going from where I was to, running 100K a day and raising money and raising awareness, man, that's a freaking grand slam.
It's a
So
monster.
if I break the record, cool. I'll also be, I mean, this is also something that hasn't really been chatted about, but I'll also be the first person of color to run across the country. Like no one has ever done it before. So from a minority perspective. So that's another thing that I kind of value, because there's an Indo-Canadian community that isn't into running, isn't into these types of things, right? And if I can inspire a few of those kids as well to kind of maybe this is a good opportunity, a good thing to enter into, that would be a golden sort of gift for me. But for me, to your point about the logistics and all that and team, man, I've been doing, like, everyone around me knows what I'm doing. It hasn't been a secret. I've been trying to be on this path. Now, for me, it's been challenges because I've never really created a team or built a team or selected a team. So it requires certain things for me to understand to be able to do that, right?
Well, and it's hard. It's really hard in this, like, running a business, right, with employees. I mean, there might be really good people at that that can do that task really well, but if they don't fit into the whole big picture, if they don't buy into it, and if they're not, they may not just mesh well. They may be great at what they can do, but if they don't mesh well with everybody else and yourself, and they don't understand the goal and the task at hand, then they're not going to be a good fit. And that's one of the hardest things is, trying to, because you're gonna have to vet people, right? You can't just say, okay, you're hired, right, and then get into Quebec and be like, well, this isn't working out, right? You can't be dealing with that kind of shit when you're into it, right? So it's like, it's definitely going to be, looking at it from the outside looking in, I can see the challenges, not only like the running, like you said earlier, the running is the easy part, but when you have to start putting all these pieces together to make the puzzle work, yeah, it's challenging.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and I think I've been thinking about it, man. Because I don't have a team like, a crew team basically for this. So what's the number one thing? I think the number one thing that I have to have is trust and loyalty, right? And then
Yeah.
everything else we can kind of build out. And so for me, that's what I've kind of been doing over the last couple of years. It's kind of have people around me, kind of seeing who's what, what's where, who could be a fit, who has the time, who wants to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Because look, I don't have tons of money, man.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I can pay people to do it. It's going to have to be volunteer to a
Yeah,
certain
for
degree.
sure. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm fortunate in a few areas where I have a sponsor, Magnum Supplements. So they've been very supportive in helping out with um, what I'm doing right now. And so we'll see what their involvement will be next year. We'll see, over the last few years, I've been very vocal on social media and also on, legacy media as well. And I suspect when I start mentioning I'm going to start running across Canada, maybe in January of next year or whatever, first person of color, mental health, all these types of things, I think there will be a lot of traction from a public perspective, because I've already been in the media, so they already kind of know who I am now.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of just saying, okay, this is when it's starting now. And
Yeah.
so hopefully that helps. Social media, try to play that game. I'm not a young kid too, right? So I don't want to play the game of the young kid game where,
Yeah.
I love Ryan. Ryan's an awesome guy. He and I actually, I went to visit him in Halifax a few months ago before he kicked off on this thing, and I ran with him. Awesome kid. But I'm not 26, right? And
For sure, man. For sure.
the type of vibe is very different. And so, the logistics, I think I might have a pretty good hand at it because I'm retired law enforcement basically, and I have a network of people across Canada that are first responders and veterans and whatnot. So we can reach out to some of these people if we're on the highway 401 or whatever it is. Maybe we get an escort, see what happens, right? But I'm not going to worry about that stuff quite yet. I want to just kind of hammer down on this stuff, and because who knows what happens after this? Maybe some things kind of materialize from this endeavor after I'm done. So I'll just kind of keep my options open.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's going to be something else, man. Well, I mean, everything you do, I mean, even what you're working on right now, it's pretty amazing. I know, I love to run myself, and it's, it's not easy to put in the kilometers that you're putting in every day.
Oh, it's a challenge, man. But you know what, man? I'm pretty happy I'm able to do it, and I'm pretty stoked that I get the opportunity to do this. And all the things that have happened over the last few years, if I was still married and whatnot, I probably wouldn't be able to, right? Like so I got to look at some of the positives out of the circumstances that have been presented.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so I have a bit of flexibility in that capacity. So, I think about that too. I think about, look, I'm doing this for you guys too, because there's a million people that can do this. And there's a million people, if they put the amount of time and effort that I'm putting to it, probably do it better than me. So I feel kind of like an obligation, like, hey man, I'm representing, I have the time, let me put in the work for everybody I know that could probably do this, and wants to do this, but maybe doesn't have the time or the luxury to be able to. Right. And so I kind of, I'm happy to take on that sort of responsibility or obligation.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, man, it's been great catching up with you.
Yeah, man.
We've kind of chatted back and forth on Instagram for a while, and I've been following you and just love what you're doing. And I love, we're the same age, and I just love seeing guys our age just grinding it out day in, day out. So it's
I love what you're doing too, man. I've been tracking you too, so it's I just love seeing people doing cool shit, man. And like I just like it. I like people working out. I like people I like watching people who are passionate about what they're doing. I get excited over that stuff.
Yeah,
I like watching people who are being themselves, the real selves, not fake stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. You go out, you enjoy life, you do whatever it is, and you do it well because you enjoy it.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I really appreciate you guys reaching out and asking me to come on, man. And maybe we can do it again after we're done the run.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quickly, just let our listeners know where they can find and follow you.
Yes.
And keep track of what you got going on.
Actually, let me just, yeah, for sure. I totally forgot. So I'm on Instagram at SACH.in.motion, and I'm doing all of this to raise awareness and funds for veterans and first responders with occupational stress injuries. I have a commitment to raise $30,000 on this run, and I'm hoping to do that. And if we're able to do that, man, that'll help a ton of people. So, you know, you can go to my website. Yeah, website, sachinmotion.ca, or in my Instagram account, you hit the link tree. There's a donation form there. Every donation that's given gets a tax receipt. So, you know, it's all tickety-boo. No issues.
Perfect. And I'll put all this stuff up in the show notes of the show. So real easy for listeners to just click on that. And yeah, if you guys are listening, just help out, throw, you know, $5 or whatever you got. It's
any amount is good amount.
Yeah, great. Right on.
Awesome.
Okay, buddy. It's been we'll definitely keep in touch. Pete, you got anything to add?
No, thanks for coming on. Love meeting people like you who, you know, persevere, push through the hard times, and, you know, it works out in the end just because you never quit. Love it.
Thanks, man.
Definitely inspiring.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. All right, man.
Have a good night.
See you, buddy.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
A life that has the stories to back it. A life to be proud of. It's a Winchester life.
Yeah, baby. 6'8" Western. Oh, mule deer, baby, right there.
Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV.